welcome everybody to our I can't even put my words in. I haven't even started. So hey, I do so many things on Be Career Confident, which is one of our other things, but this is our No Wrong Path series. And our No Wrong Path started a couple of years ago, and I thought it was a great event that the Scottish Chamber of Commerce had put on to showcase students who were graduating from their GCSEs and their A-levels and equivalent in Scotland, and to showcase that what you tend to think about that you're going to do when you leave school sometimes doesn't quite work out. And we wanted to take that to its next level. So this year in 2020, with all of the challenges that we are all facing, we are going to showcase people that have had a career and what they wanted to do and what the reality was, but also in the time of recession, what people's stories are and what they're experiencing today. So I'd love to welcome you to Jon Walker. Thank you so much for agreeing to speak to me today. And we're going to dive straight in, Jon, so that people can start to learn about your journey and start off with school before they even know who you are. So when you were at school, what did you want to do?
All I was interested in at school was sport.
Okay.
I wanted to play football. I wanted to play cricket, athletics, and basketball.
Really?
Anybody that would listen, I was going to be a professional sportsman of some sort.
So you didn't have an idea of what sport, it was just anything.
I enjoyed playing football and basketball more than others.
Yeah.
Probably because I could sort of play half decent with those. But as far as what I was actually going to do with it as I grew up, I didn't really think about it. I was just enjoying playing sports so much. Unfortunately for me, I didn't really concentrate as much as I should have done at school.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Things happen, different paths and all that. So yeah. How old were you when you left? Because you and I are older than obviously the generation that's coming through now. Did you leave 16, 18, 21?
I was halfway through my A-level, so I was just 17 and a half.
Okay.
I'd just done a year of my A-levels, and I kind of got fed up of being told what to do at school. I was a little, not rebellious, but I kind of wanted to make my own money, and I wanted to be doing a bit more than just going into class. I was starting to grow up a little bit. So
what were you studying? What were you studying at A-level? What were you studying at A-level?
English language and sociology and psychology. So
okay, so no sport.
Through. No, and that's it. I didn't really link sport to my career at that stage.
Okay.
I didn't really think about jobs such as sports scientists and coaches and things like that. To me, they were two totally separate things.
And I wonder whether they were actually around at that point and showcased within our careers and our education.
I don't think there was as much focus on them back in those days. I certainly don't remember it. I mean, when I watch the football and the cricket and that sort of stuff now, there's a big focus on nutrition and health, sports psychology, and that side of the sport. But it wasn't something that I ever heard about or discussed or even thought about when I was at school. No. It just didn't happen.
So you left your A-levels, and then what did you do?
I thought, if I'm going to be told what to do, I'm going to be told what to do and get paid for it. So my stepfather was in the military. He was a Royal military policeman. I was always intrigued with the development opportunities, the travelling that came with military. So I joined up. That was it. I made the decision one day and went to the careers office, and that was it.
And was that army?
Yes.
Yeah. So how long were you in for?
Just under 5 years. I was in the REME, Royal Electrical Mechanical Engineers.
Wow. Okay, so we've gone from sport to doing psychology in A-levels to now going into some engineering.
Yeah.
Wow.
I actually joined up to go into the military police, the same as my stepdad. But everybody has to do a test, maths, English, science. It's sort of a broad spectrum of tests just to see what you're allowed to apply for. I did okay in the test, got some good scores, and they said, look, you can go into the military police, but with your scores, you can go and do an engineering and electronics role. You'll get promoted quicker, you'll earn more money, you get to see more places. So they sold it to me.
Right, okay. Do you regret not doing the police?
Yes, I do.
Do you?
I had an interest in the military police because of my stepdad and talking to him and listening to his experiences. Electronics and the technical side of it was okay for me academically because I can take information on reasonably well. But if I've not got a really deep-rooted interest in something, I struggle to sort of drive myself.
Yeah.
And I think that was a bit of a shame looking back. But I did well from the experiences, and the basics that you get from the military is the same for everybody. So
yeah,
it's definitely something I'd recommend to people.
And enjoyed your time, your 5 years doing that?
Absolutely. And I'm still friends with people now. I think I left the military in 2004. And there's still people I talk to on Facebook and I'm friends with. And, you know, when they say you make friends for life, you really do.
You really do. Brilliant.
Yeah,
good.
Absolutely.
So came out of the military and then your career in civilian life. Yes. What happened then?
Well, as part of my resettlement, I did a project management course.
Okay.
Which was the Prince 2 at the time.
Yeah.
Which was a nice qualification to have. But unfortunately, I was 22 at the time still. I'd got no project management experience other than military experience. So it was very difficult to get a job in project management as a 22-year-old with no civilian experiences. I kind of fell into electrical retail just because I had an interest in it.
Yeah.
And a family member worked in a business who were opening more stores and there were opportunities there. So I did it while I thought, you know, I'll earn a bit of money, get a job, and then see where it takes me, see where I go from there.
Yeah.
And I just enjoyed it. I just enjoyed talking to people. I certainly enjoyed the commission that came with it.
Going back to the early part of you coming out of education and you wanted to earn, so it was still there, that hunger to earn.
Yeah. That's it, yeah. And I went from being a sales advisor when I first started to assistant manager, and then I was a store manager within 3 years. I think I was 25 when I was a store manager.
Brilliant.
I was the youngest one the group had, and it just came naturally to me, and I really enjoyed it.
Brilliant. So how long did you stay in that sector?
I did about 8 years.
Wow. Okay.
It was only when my son started to get a little bit older, and I wanted to do more things and go away for weekends. And when you're in retail, it is very much you've got to be there every weekend, every bank holiday.
Yeah.
And after 8 years, I wanted a Monday to Friday job. That was really the only reason. And
then you moved into what type of role after that?
I did a field sales role for a little while for a family-owned business. I did about 6 months. Started to have a bit of success, but unfortunately they ran out of money.
Right.
So I was made redundant. And then obviously when you're made redundant, you just start to look for whatever roles you can that fit within your profile, experiences, and I ended up working for Briggs Equipment.
Yeah.
And that was kind of a bit of sales, bit of commercial administration. It was looking at the commercial deals brought in by the sales team.
Yeah.
So it was a big attention to detail, lots of responsibility in the role, because if I got it wrong, then it cost money.
Yeah.
And as I say, I just fell into that role, but I really enjoyed that because I like checking things, I like lists, and I like structure. So that kind of came naturally. And I was there for 2 or 3 years.
Brilliant. And then moved on again?
Yeah, I was offered a role. I was approached by AutoSmart, and that was to be the manager of their national accounts sales office. So it was managing a team of between 5 and 6, depending on the time of year, and supporting the external sales managers as well. I only really moved from Briggs, if I'm honest, was because it was back into a management role, more responsibility, more career opportunities. Briggs was a great place to work. It was just because people stayed there for years, there were very few opportunities to grow from one position to
Yeah.
another. But also
And
Smart was excellent. It was a really good opportunity.
yeah, you really enjoy it. That was, I remember when we've talked before, that was one of the roles that you really, really enjoyed.
I did, yeah. It was a good team there. It was very
Yeah.
varied. Lots of interaction with their franchisees because it's a franchise business. So every day was different. There was no one day the same.
Yeah. Good. So I'm just going to interject a little bit because you've frozen, and I don't know whether it's the recording or whether it's internet connection. So at the moment, people that may be watching it, you
You
could have
frozen as well.
frozen. Oh, really? So we'll have to see what happens with the recording, and people watching it may see us freezing, or people watching it may just think, oh, actually, they're all okay. So we'll see what goes off. The joys of the internet and working from home, unfortunately. So while we can still hear each other, so I'm going to carry on because what I love about your career is that you have transferred your skills from some thinking about what you wanted to do really, really passionately, which was the sport. And then that hunger for earning money and trying to be a little bit of take control of your own career and taking that into the military, and then coming into retail and the sales elements of that drive to still earn commission and deliver on that side of things, and then into more leading of teams. So you've really evolved and your career's really evolved. What's happened with you in the past couple of years and sort of brings us up to date, and how's 2020 been for you and COVID?
I worked, I came back to work closer to home because in Auto Smart, I was over in Shenstone, the other side of Lichfield.
Yeah.
I got an opportunity to work for NC Compliance, which is a electrical contractor, and it was right on my doorstep. Great
Perfect.
hours, lots of career balance, career and life balance, and I ended up being there again. That was a couple of years until recently. Another family-owned business, and it was an internal sales manager's role, so it was very much something I was used to. But with COVID, took over, and half of the office, there were 5 people made redundant,
Right.
unfortunately,
Okay.
myself being one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I went on holiday to Florida on the 10th of March, came back on the 15th. We had 5 days out there. A week later, I got the phone call saying I was made, on furlough. And
Right.
then it was about a month after that that I got told that people were being made redundant because businesses were folding.
Ouch.
Sadly, that was it. Yeah, bit of a whirlwind few months.
Yeah. Yeah. So how did you find the job market, and where are you now?
Um, Happy to say I've now secured a role. When I
Brilliant.
started looking, what I found immediately was you weren't getting many responses back, and the responses you were getting back, people were saying that hundreds of people were applying for roles. So it was far more competitive than it's ever been.
Yeah.
Certainly, what I've known it in the past.
Yeah.
So I I threw myself into it 100% and probably did a little bit too much to start with. I was working harder and not necessarily smarter.
Okay.
Um,
So were you
Obviously,
working long hours trying to find a role?
all day. I was
Right.
literally just sat on jobs boards, creating searches. Um, yeah, just constantly looking through, constantly
That's,
tweaking my CV and doing little bits. And
were you
I
doing that
was
7 days a week, John?
sorry,
Were you doing that 7 days a week?
I was trying to do it 5 days a week, but then when I started getting emails at the weekend and little comments on LinkedIn, I'd start delving into them. And if someone said you perhaps should do this on your CV, I'd end up saying, oh, I'll just do half an hour. And it was starting to take over, if I'm honest.
How did that affect you your well-being and your mental health?
I was getting tired, struggling to sleep because I was nervous and anxious about money and security. I'm sure everyone would be.
Yeah.
And I probably wasn't giving my best to all the conversations I was having, or perhaps not making the best decisions or taking on information as well as I could, because I was burnt out. It wasn't until I started speaking to yourself and other people on LinkedIn, other professionals and friends who said, look,
Yeah,
you just take a step back and perhaps work a bit smarter, that I realised, it's taken over a little bit.
it's hard though, isn't it? It's like you've identified you're in a position where you're being made redundant. The market's very, very challenging. You need an income, and you need to secure yourself a job. And if you're not doing something and not looking at the job boards or applying, you sort of beat yourself up of, I should be doing more.
You there, Ruth?
Yeah, please, no. It froze, and that we were frozen for 10 minutes and we carried on, and now it's just cut it off.
I can't see you now.
I died. Oh, you're back.
Yeah.
We're going to carry on because this is just the pleasure of working from home, and we're going to just keep this in because otherwise we're not being authentic. But what it basically is too many people on the broadband in my home at the moment. So.
There you go.
I've gone through and said, could you all please just stay off the internet? And they were very embarrassed. It literally just cut me totally dead. So, but let's go authentic. So we were talking about, you get consumed, don't you? You literally, you're in that place and you get so consumed with how that if you're not physically looking at a job and you're not applying, then you're not doing anything. So you should be doing more. And, then it consumes you because you've then maybe not spent any time with friends and family because you're neglecting them, and we're in a pandemic and there's all these challenges going off.
It can knock your self-esteem, and I think that's what was happening, because for every time you don't get an answer or you get a no, thank you, or not on this occasion, you think, well, what's wrong with my CV, or what didn't I put in the covering letter, or did I not come across well on the phone? And
yeah.
You start to delve into what more and more and more. What do I need to look at? What haven't I done?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just a case of you're not in the right place at the right time.
No.
You don't feel that way.
No, because you've got all this time to think as well, haven't you? And especially of how we were in lockdown, you couldn't go out and go to the gym, take your mind off it, go and have a pint, just go and socialize with friends. It was you were in a pressure cooker situation, and a lot of people that will be watching this they may have the flexibility to still go out more and be with their friends, but actually when you're looking for a job, it's so consuming, isn't it?
It is, yeah. In the end, I had to get myself almost like a life journal.
I loved it when you shared this with me.
Prioritise. Yeah, I mean, it's so good. It's, you just putting some structure in and saying, right, I'm going to do this, but I'm going to give it half an hour, and then I'm going to move on to looking at my CV. Then I'm going to follow up with some people. And then I started signing on to do courses. So I looked at what free courses I could do. And I also signed up and did my IOSH, which a lot of the courses are on offer because people perhaps aren't.
Yeah. So you did your IOSH. You did a business admin one as well, didn't you?
I did, yeah. And I'm doing a level 7 leadership and management qualification at the moment as well.
Brilliant. And when do you start your new job?
On Monday.
So we're now going to be battling, doing the juggling act of job, home life, family life, gym, and a level 7 qualification.
Yeah, I'm going to go from having
You're
lots of
still
time to none.
Yeah, but you're smiling, and there's the trick. You're not feeling, it's not daunting to you, is it? There's an excitement there of, yeah, I can juggle this.
To be honest, I'd probably say that doing the courses was one of the biggest things I did, because I felt like I was being proactive. It was taking my mind off not having a job. It was learning new skills, which was only strengthening my CV. It was giving so many different positives.
Yeah.
Rather than sitting there sort of wasting my days and sort of thinking about what I'm doing,
Yeah.
I was really getting myself immersed in study, and I'm glad I did it.
Brilliant. And I was going to ask you top tips for, so first of all, top tips for people who are currently searching for work in this pandemic. So one of them would be courses.
Yeah, courses, structure, and stick to it. So if you can get yourself a diary or a notepad and list 2 or 3 things each day that you want to do, and give yourself a set time. So I'm going to go on LinkedIn and interact with different people and network for an hour a day, or I'm going to do an hour's study, and then in the afternoon I'm going to do an hour on the jobs boards and going through emails. But don't allow yourself to get dragged into 3 or 4 hours of jobs boards or one thing or another, because that's when you kind of fall down the rabbit hole a little bit and you can end up being consumed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Structure for me was a big one.
Brilliant. Okay, and take advantage of those free courses.
Yeah, have a look around. There's plenty on there, and I honestly didn't realise the power that LinkedIn had. That's how I ended up getting the job. One of my old colleagues saw a post that I'd put on, and it was quite an open and honest post, sort of bearing my soul that I was in trouble. And I had that many, hundreds of people offering
I was going to
help.
say, I think you potentially at one point could have been trending on that post, because it went nuts, didn't it?
250,000 people had looked at it and interacted with it. So I had no idea that was going to happen.
No.
And that was the power of LinkedIn. And so
yeah,
I didn't realise that.
And also you being brave and saying, I need some help.
Yeah. That was one of those days where I'm at the end of my tether and I didn't really know what to do. And I just thought, there's people out there who want to help. I'm going to tell them in trouble and see what happens.
Yeah.
And it came out really positively.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing to remember on LinkedIn, is that people in that community, and most of society in the world that we live in anyway, is people do want to help.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, I've always been sceptical about putting things like that out onto LinkedIn, but I won't be again. I always thought, is it professional? But being honest and truthful about how you're feeling and the position you're in is professional.
It is.
It's showing integrity. It's showing that you're honest and that you've got nothing to hide. So
No.
I think people took the positive side from that, and I said the amount of offers of help I had were just incredible.
And then an offer of a job.
That's it. That's where it
which
came
is brilliant.
from.
Fabulous. Yeah, and then finally, I'd like to ask you what you think your tips would be for people leaving school this year. I mean, it's a tough time for them. Some of them, they've not finished their school life as they would have thought they would be, and it's a big world out there and a very changing world out there, and I'm sure there's a lot of students feeling anxious about their future ahead. What sort of hints and tips and advice would you give them?
Something I didn't do, something I actively didn't do. As I said, I kind of split what I enjoyed doing, the sports and the being active side, from work. And I never really put those two things together. But if I could go back, I would say to myself, look at what you enjoy. What things do you enjoy? Whatever they might be, sports, academics of any kind. Find something you enjoy, and then look for how you can apply that to a career. Try and link the two. So for me now, as I say, I wished I could have gone back and thought, how can I be a sports coach? How can I be a physio? And link the two things together.
Yeah.
When you're enjoying your work, it's so much easier, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's brilliant advice. And I think certainly the careers advisors that I know within our local area, you know, we're both in Staffordshire, there's some great careers advisors out there that will try and link those up now and try and their aim is to sort of make sure what somebody's good at and what they're happy doing, find where the link is. It can even go into, you know, the food industry, people who are creative and chefs and that sort of thing, but might not want to work in a restaurant. Well, there's chefs and development chefs within the food industry that people will not necessarily think about, and it's connecting those dots, isn't it? And finding where you can exploring if you can have a career in something, a hobby that you love.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally agree.
Jon, I just want to thank you so much for sharing your story, because you've been through a really interesting career journey. I am so excited that you have got yourself your new job and you start Monday. So I'm glad that you squeezed this interview in with me before you become very busy with that. It's been another intriguing interview because we've had IT issues. Normally it's the dog barking or delivery drivers. So Jon, thank you so much. And I'm sure there'll be lots of people that will be able to take some really positive steps from your advice. So thank you so much.
Hope so. Good.